Throughout history, dictators have used propaganda to manipulate public opinion and maintain power. But how true are the claims these leaders made about themselves and their regimes? Today, we're fact-checking the false claims made by some of the most notorious dictators, from Adolf Hitler to Kim Jong-un and beyond. Hitler often claimed that Germany's defeat in World War II was the result of a global conspiracy to destroy the German people. The reality, however, is that Germany's defeat was primarily due to strategic mistakes by Hitler and the overwhelming strength of the Allied forces. The defeat at the Battle of Stalingrad marked a critical turning point. The Battle of Stalingrad in 1942 and 1943 was one of the largest military defeats for Nazi Germany, where over 300,000 German soldiers were either killed or captured, marking a shift in the war. Hitler also preached the idea of Aryan supremacy. Science today proves that the concept of racial superiority is baseless. All human races are genetically equal, and this ideology was used purely as a tool for oppression and genocide. The Holocaust, in which 6 million Jews and millions of others were murdered, was driven by Hitler's false ideology of Aryan superiority. Stalin portrayed himself as the hero of the October Revolution and the protector of the working class. In reality, Stalin's regime was responsible for the deaths of millions through political purges and man-made famines, notably the Holodomor in Ukraine. The Great Purge of the late 1930s saw Stalin eliminate thousands of political opponents and even members of his own Communist Party, leading to widespread fear and suffering across the Soviet Union. He also claimed the Holodomor famine in Ukraine was a natural disaster, but evidence points to it being a result of Stalin's deliberate policies. The famine was engineered as part of Stalin's policy of forced collectivization and grain requisitioning aimed at suppressing Ukrainian resistance. The Holodomor of 1932-1933 led to the deaths of up to 7 million Ukrainians, caused directly by Stalin's policies of agricultural seizure. Putin has argued that Russia's 2022 invasion of Ukraine was necessary to protect Russia's security. The invasion was an unprovoked attack, violating international law and causing widespread human suffering. The claim of security threats is largely seen as a pretext. The battle for Kyiv and the subsequent destruction across Ukraine demonstrate that Russia's actions were unprovoked, leading to thousands of civilian casualties and massive displacement. Putin also claims that Russia has no political prisoners, but the arrest and suppression of opposition figures like Alexei Navalny tell a different story. The Russian government under Putin has consistently imprisoned political opponents, suppressed protests, and curtailed freedom of speech and press. The arrest and imprisonment of Alexei Navalny on politically motivated charges is just one example of how Putin has silenced his critics and stifled political opposition in Russia. Gaddafi often portrayed Libya as a model of prosperity and a leader of Africa's anti-imperialism struggle. While some may have benefited from Gaddafi's regime, many Libyans lived in fear under his authoritarian rule. The country's wealth was squandered while the people faced severe repression. Despite his claims of prosperity, the average Libyan lived in poverty while Gaddafi's regime diverted oil revenues for personal and military gain. Saddam Hussein portrayed himself as a hero for Iraq, claiming that Iraq's problems were caused by foreign interference. Saddam's own brutal policies, such as the invasion of Kuwait, internal repression, and the use of chemical weapons against his own people, were the primary causes of Iraq's suffering. The Gulf War of 1990-1991 was sparked by Saddam's invasion of Kuwait, leading to the destruction of much of Iraq's infrastructure. The leadership of the Islamic Republic of Iran frequently claims that the country is thriving and that people live in freedom and prosperity. The reality is that Iran is facing severe economic difficulties, high inflation, and widespread poverty. The government, under Khamenei's leadership, has also been heavily criticized for its repression of political dissent and human rights abuses. Protests have erupted across Iran in response to economic hardship, political repression, and the lack of personal freedoms, leading to violent crackdowns by the government. The Islamic Republic's leaders also claim that the country is a model of democracy. But the reality is that elections are tightly controlled, and opposition is silenced. Iran's elections have been heavily rigged, with candidates who oppose the regime disqualified from running, making the system far from democratic. Chavez and Maduro often claimed that Venezuela was a socialist paradise, where poverty had been eliminated. In reality, Venezuela is facing one of the worst economic crises in the world. Hyperinflation, food shortages, and a mass exodus of refugees have defined the current situation. Venezuela's inflation rate hit 1,000% in 2018, leading to mass shortages of food and medicine and a growing refugee crisis. Castro's regime presented Cuba as an egalitarian, free society with excellent healthcare and education. While Cuba made strides in healthcare and education, the country also suffered from political repression, lack of freedoms, and a stagnant economy due to the decades-long embargo and centralized control. Cuba has a long history of repressing dissent, and political opposition is silenced by the state. Many political prisoners remain in Cuban jails. Despite claims of a people's revolution, Castro maintained tight control over the country's economy and silenced all opposition. Cuba's political system under Castro was a one-party state with no free elections or press, and dissent was punished harshly. From Hitler to Kim Jong-un, these leaders used propaganda to control their populations and justify their actions. But the reality behind their claims is often far from the truth. What do you think? Which dictator's false claims stood out to you the most? Let us know in the comments below, and don't forget to subscribe for more fact-checking content.